Hey, I'm John Cannell. Today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some crisp, amazing French bread. So let's get started. First off, we have to bloom our yeast, so grab 2 cups of warm water. This should be about 110 to 120 degrees. I also want to have active dry yeast. If you use instant yeast when you're not supposed to, the recipe will not turn out. Basically, the yeast give all of their effort for that first rise, and then when it comes time for the second rise, they're done. They're like, I gave you everything I had. So you need active dry. We're also adding 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. These yeast are waking up and they are hungry, so you need to feed them. Give that a stir and set this aside for about 5 minutes. If this isn't foamy and amazing, your yeast have expired, start over again. If you don't, your bread will not rise. So we'll be right back. My yeast is bloomed up and now it's time to add 3 cups or 360 grams of flour. And for this recipe, you could use all-purpose or bread flour. All-purpose flour will give you a softer baguette. Bread flour is higher in protein and it'll give you a chewier bread. You also want 1 tablespoon of olive oil, as well as 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt. This is ready to go onto our stand mixer, but before we start, I just want to say you don't have to use a stand mixer. People make bread by hand. It's a whole thing. Very relaxing. It takes more time, but you can do it. When my kids make pizza at home, they make the pizza start to finish, and they make the bread by hand. So it's really fun. It's a bit messy. You can do that. I am going to use my stand mixer today, though. Pop your bowl on. But before you add your dough hook, use your spatula and just give it a head start. When you give your dough a head start by mixing it by hand, things are just going to go so much quicker. Your mixer doesn't like it when there's a huge mass of water on the bottom and powder on top. So make it a slurry, and then we can add the rest of the flour and your mixer will be so happy. If you love delicious food, you should definitely subscribe to the channel. Hit that sub button and enjoy the many delicious things that are on the horizon every week. We're going to begin mixing this on medium-low speed right now. And while that's mixing, I'm going to measure out the remaining flour. We added 3 cups of flour. We still have 2.5 cups to add, so that's 300 grams measured into a bowl. While this mix is on medium-low, I'm going to add the remaining flour 1/2 cup at a time, and this will let everything mix in nicely. Mix into the bowl, not the counter. Let that mix in a bit before adding the next batch of flour. Last bit of flour is going in. Now increase speed to medium and mix until this becomes a nice ball of dough. It'll be about 2 to 3 minutes and you'll see what that looks like. My dough's been mixing for about 2.5 minutes. I want to take a look at it because every day is different, and when you make bread, where you are, the weather, the time of day, everything will affect how this recipe works. So it's definitely much stretchier. It should be pulling away from the sides of the bowl and it's kind of sticking to them. And when I touch it with my finger, the dough is still sticking to my finger. That shouldn't happen. So I'm gonna keep mixing it, but also add in about 2 tablespoons of flour. Maybe you added a little bit too much water at the beginning. It might be a humid day. Who knows where the stars are aligned? So every time you make bread or any kind of dough, you should think of the amount of flour as a basic guide. And if you need more, add more. I feel like I need more, so I'm adding 2 tablespoons. I'm also gonna scrape the bowl down just because that last addition of flour is not gonna incorporate evenly otherwise. Yeah. See, it's just totally sticking to my finger still, and if I touch it, it's not bouncing back as much as it should. So let's give this 1 more minute of mixing. Already, this looks so much better. It's forming a ball, it's pulling away from the sides, and just a little bit of flour went a long way. And by the way, like, not every dough is the same. So if you were making something like my air fryer donuts, those are basically magic because you're using an air fryer and creating a melt in your mouth, really light and airy donut. To do that, you have to use so little flour, it's a very sticky dough. But for other things like pizza dough, you want to have more substance, a chewier crust, so you're adding more flour in. Doughs for different recipes are going to have totally different qualities. Okay, let's give this a test. So now, not sticking to my fingers, excellent. It was pulling away and I think it's giving a good bounce back. Now we want to lightly oil a large bowl, just a little bit, and work that up the sides with your hand. I've been making so many really enriched doughs for things like brioche and cinnamon rolls. They're chock full of butter and milk and other things that are delicious, which means that they're much less sticky. This traditional dough with only a tablespoon of olive oil will really stick to your bowl, so you can't skip the oil. All right. Now let's grab our beautiful dough. I think of French bread as something that's always existed, but it actually hasn't always been around because what makes it possible, first of all, a French bread should be like chewy and light and airy on the inside, but crisp on the outside. And if you've made bread, you know that to get that crispy exterior, you need steam. So, it's really stuck. So what made French bread possible was the invention of the steam oven in the 19th century. And once that happened, people loved the play of textures and just like the magic it could create with bread making. So French bread was born. All right, my dough is comfortably situated in my lightly oiled bowl, and I'm gonna cover it with a dampened bonnet, but you could use plastic wrap. This goes into a warm, cozy place to double in size. It'll be about an hour. In you go. My dough is doubled in size, and I thought I was being so slick using my favorite bonnet, not realizing that this dough was sticky. I literally said, this dough was so sticky. So it stuck to my bonnet. That's okay. I just didn't want to use plastic wrap. You know, we all make mistakes, it's fine. And this isn't gonna affect how it tastes. It's just I am losing like a tablespoon of dough. But I wanted to show you because unfortunate things happen in the kitchen to everybody. All right, my dough looks beautiful, it's doubled in size. I'm gonna dump this out onto a lightly floured surface, and we have some dividing and shaping to do. This homemade French bread is gonna be so delicious, and I honestly think it's just a really fun, satisfying thing to make. Okay, there we go. Really wasn't lying about the stickiness of this dough. It's pretty crazy. Divide your dough into 2 equal pieces, and if you want to have more baguettes that are smaller, just divide into 3 pieces. All right. I'm going to shape my dough into a 9 by 12 inch rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once you have that approximately 9 by 12 inch rectangle, we're going to roll this up just like a jelly roll to get our baguette shape. Start on the long side and just give it a roll. Here we go. And now you have a choice. You can use a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, or you can pull out your special baguette pan, which I bought years ago and use occasionally. This pan is special because it's covered in holes, so there's good air circulation for a really crisp dough throughout. And of course, it's shaped so that it can hold these baguettes and they keep their round form. If you don't have one, it's totally fine. I will just say that your baguette might spread a little bit. It's fine. Transfer this over and repeat for the remaining dough. Rolling a dough like this will give you a nice tighter structure on the outside and a compact structure on the inside. It's just a good way to form your dough. It's similar to if you were making a loaf of sourdough where you're tightening the edge as you roll it, just forming a really nice skin. We're gonna cover these loosely and allow them to rise until they're visibly puffed. After 20 minutes of rise time, we're gonna heat our oven to 375 so it's nice and hot, and then give these another 10 to 20 minutes or until they have that nice puff. Before we bake them, I'm gonna go over how to get that crisp shell if you don't have a steam oven at home. I don't have a steam oven at home, but we can make our oven steamy. 30 minutes later, my baguettes are noticeably puffed and they're almost ready to go into the oven. Use a sharp knife or a bread lame, and we're gonna cut 3 slashes down the middle to control the expansion during the bake. My French bread is ready to go into the oven 375 for 25 to 30 minutes or until it is beautifully golden brown. I also have 3/4 of a cup of hot water here. This is gonna go into a pan on the lower rack. It'll steam up and really help my baguettes crisp up. 1, 2, 3. Once cooled, give it a slice and you're ready to enjoy. Look at this bread, it is so beautiful and crisp as can be on the outside. The inside is pillowy soft with a wonderful chew. That is just good bread, no way around it. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my bread playlist.